Thank you very much, Lauren, and thanks to you and the organisers for the invitation to come along today and talk about palliative care. So I'll just see if I can get my... Sorry? Where? Not there? Okay. I might just get you to... Thank you, Lauren. That sounds perfect. So, so as Lauren said, I've been working in palliative care for about 30 years now. I'm currently with Palliative Care Queensland, which is the peak body for palliative care in the state. So next slide, thanks Lauren. So we, and the next one after that, I don't know why it does that. I tried to get rid of that. So of course I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we're meeting today, the Yagara and Turrbal people. Pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Next slide, thank you. So I'll just let you have a quick look at that, but what we're about is very much about making sure that when people get to the end of life, whatever condition they have, that they are supported to be as comfortable as possible, to be able to live wherever their preference is, whether that's at home or in an institution or aged care facility, hospital, whatever. Next slide, thanks. So this is so I'll just run through some of the services that Palliative Care Queensland provides first, and then talk a little bit more about palliative care itself. So at PCQ, we have what we call Palli Learn sessions, and there's eight different ones. And if you're interested in any of these, 1 hour, actually I'm not sure whether they're 1 or 4 hours, but basically they are introductions to various aspects of palliative care. And there's a small charge for them, although we try wherever possible to make them free. Last Aid was developed by a doctor in Germany who started his professional life as a paramedic and then became a palliative care doctor. And he thought one day, well, we have first aid. Why don't we have last aid for people at the end of life? So the last aid sessions are a 4-hour session that gives people in the community a brief introduction to principles of palliative care, how to care for somebody at home. It tries to demystify death and dying. Next slide, thanks, Lauren. And Ambulance Wish Queensland is something that we've developed probably in the last 2 or 3 years, I think. And that was launched by the then Health and Ambulance Services Minister, Stephen Miles, at Parliament House. The Queensland Ambulance Service donated a decommissioned ambulance, so one they didn't need anymore. And I don't know whether any of you saw years ago, there was this beautiful photo of a couple of paramedics and a patient on a trolley at a beach, somewhere like Hervey Bay. And so the Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about it. Thank you. So the patient wanted to see the doctor, see the ocean one last time on her way home from hospital, her last trip home. And that photo it was seen by tens of thousands of people around the world, and people really related to it. And a couple of years ago, one of our Palliative Care Queensland volunteers, who was from the Netherlands, came to Shyla, our then CEO, and said, look, in the Netherlands, we have this scheme where people can go with the help of an ambulance and the paramedics to do whatever is their last wish when they're getting towards end of life. And so Shyla and the board, I was president at the time, we worked with the department, with the minister, and we were just being told, yes, look, it's a possibility, you might be able to get some funding. And then one day we got a message from the minister's office to say, we want to launch it in 2 weeks' time. So as you can imagine, it was a bit of a rush, but we were delighted to be able to get the funding to start this wonderful initiative where people can have their last wish met. And it might be something like, excuse me, that very first wish was Betty, who simply wanted a passion fruit ice cream and to go to the Botanical Gardens in Brisbane. And apparently the minister's advisor had a lot of trouble finding passion fruit ice cream, would you believe? But the media around that just went bananas. We had, I think, millions of views. So it's something that people relate to. Where I don't know how many wishes we've done now. Actually, I think we're up to about 130. So it's a fantastic initiative. We're having our fundraising dinner on the 4th of November, which is our big fundraiser for the year to help us provide that service. So we work with specialist palliative care services like at St Vincent's Hospital, or Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital, and somebody from that palliative care service will come with the client and with volunteer paramedics to allow that person's wish to be met. Palli Wellbeing is another one of our programs, but I think it's more important to start talking about just what is palliative care. So this is the definition from the World Health Organization, and basically it talks about palliative care being something that improves the quality of both adults or children and their families, and that's a very important aspect of palliative care, as I was just saying to someone, that it's not just the person with the illness that we care for in palliative care, it's their whole family. And it's about identifying early on what problems they might have, what symptoms, and treating those symptoms, pain, shortness of breath, for example, but also the physical, the psychosocial, the spiritual issues that people might face. So suffering, of course, isn't just about the physical. It's about things like spiritual suffering. Relatively often in palliative care, we have a situation where we just can't get on top of somebody's pain, for example, and after a bit of exploration, we might find that the person's waiting for a relative to come, a long-lost son, daughter, partner, whoever, to come from the other side of the country. They might have been estranged from that person, and excuse me, until they have spoken with that person, until they've had a meeting with them and been able to finish what unfinished business they might have, we're not able to get on top of their symptoms. Palliative care is very much a team approach. So I think in other areas of healthcare, we pay lip service to the idea of the team. So the doctor, the nurse, the social worker, the pharmacist, the psychologist, etc. But in palliative care, that's where I've seen it most effectively put in place. That you have a team approach, and the input of every member of the team is valued. And that last statement is very important, is that it's about helping people to live as actively as possible until their very end stage. So when should you think about or plan for palliative care? So we might be a bit biased in palliative care, but we recommend that as soon as somebody is diagnosed with a life-limiting illness, that's the time to be referred to palliative care. People in other areas of health will often refrain from referring people to palliative care because they say they don't want to take the person's hope away. Our attitude in palliative care is that by not putting the supports in place that palliative care provides, that you're taking away people's opportunity to live their life to the full for as long as possible. I remember when I was working with the palliative care team at Princess Alexandra Hospital, when we met a person in outpatients for the first time, and the doctor said to them, "Look, you're relatively well now, but we don't know how long that will last. If there's things you want to do, like that round Australia trip, going on a cruise, whatever, do it now while you're relatively healthy. Do it now while you can." So yeah, that's a big part of what we do in palliative care, is getting people to identify what's important to them and to do the things that are important to them, to have the conversations with family. And again, some health professionals don't want the person to know, and some family members don't want the person to know they have a life-limiting illness. But that robs the person of that opportunity to do those things they would choose to do, to have those important conversations. And one of the myths out there about palliative care is that it's only for the very last days of life. But as I said, if a palliative care team is involved early on, then they can put in significant supports. And quite often when I was at PA, patients and families would say, "Oh, I had no idea there was so much support available." So it can make a a huge difference to people's lives. So accessing palliative care, excuse me, it is possible to ring up a palliative care service yourself, but you will need a referral from your GP. If you're in hospital, the palliative care team will need a referral from your treating team. So say, for example, if you're under the renal team, the kidney team, then the palliative care team will need a referral from that team. Thanks, Lauren. One of the things that people often say to me is, "Oh, it must be so depressing working in that area," and I always say, no, it's the most rewarding area of healthcare I've ever worked in, because we see that we make a difference in people's lives, and that's helping their symptoms be managed. It's helping support their family. And often people, as they get towards end of life, they're more worried about how their family are coping, how they're managing. Okay. I better see what else I have. Okay, so in terms of information about palliative care, PalAssist is funded by Queensland Government and provided by the Cancer Council Queensland. Care Search is a fantastic repository of information, and it has information for health professionals, for the community, and somebody else, I can't remember, but certainly for consumers, there's lots of information on there. If you want to go in and find out about a particular symptom, I went in and looked up what they had about Huntingtons disease, and yeah, they have some information in there about it. So whatever the symptom is that you're looking at, it will be there on Care Search. And this quote from Dame Cicely Saunders, the founder of modern palliative care, I love. She says, "You matter because you are you, and you matter to the end of your life. We will do all we can, not only to help you die peacefully, but to live until you die." Thank you.